What's up, you guys? My name is Aubrey and this is my channel, and today I want to talk to you about the one big risk that I feel is associated with the gig economy. I'm going to be talking about what this risk is, what it entails, and more importantly, how you can protect yourself from this risk happening to you. So let's get started. Now, you guys know that I am a huge proponent of the gig economy. So doing things like driving for Uber, driving for Lyft, doing Instacart, hosting on Airbnb or Turo, doing freelancing. I am such a big proponent of these things because I believe that gig work can truly change the trajectory of your life. And I think that if you take advantage of these gig jobs out there, you can go from just barely making ends meet to being able to save at the end of each month. And if you're somebody who's already saving at the end of each month, you can do gig work and then start investing every month. I just think that the way that the gig economy works is so incredibly beneficial to so many people. Now, despite the fact that I'm such a proponent of the gig economy, I also acknowledge the fact that there is inherent risk with taking part in gig work, specifically for people that are doing it either full-time or part-time. And that real big risk is associated with the fact that you do not control the platform, meaning you have no control of the future of the platform, the decisions of the platform, and whether or not you're able to even continue on the platform. And that brings us to the main point of this video, which is wrongful account termination. Now, what wrongful account termination is that's whenever your gig working account is terminated without any real reason. Now, account termination is fairly common in the gig working marketplace. And what that is whenever a gig platform, whether it be, Airbnb, Turo, Uber, Lyft, whatever the case is, whenever they decide that they want to take somebody off of the platform and they do not want to allow them to use the platform any longer. And you can have an account terminated for a number of reasons. For example, with Turo, you can have an account terminated because you submitted a fraudulent claim or you did a smoking claim whenever somebody really didn't smoke in your vehicle. In the case of Uber or Lyft, you could have your account terminated because of the fact that you maybe were getting too many speeding tickets or you got in too many accidents. There can be a slew of different reasons as to why you could get your account terminated. But in the world of account termination, there is also a big problem of wrongful account termination. And that is whenever you get your account terminated wrongfully, meaning you had no basis to have the account terminated, you did nothing wrong, and yet a gig platform still decided to delete your account. Now, this can become particularly risky if somebody is relying on one gig platform for 100% of their income. So for example, if you are driving for Uber or Lyft full time, then there is an inherent risk in doing that because of the fact that you do not control the platform, and the possibility of a wrongful termination is always a possibility. It might not be likely, but it's definitely a possibility. This is something that's crossed my mind with Turo a lot, and it's been one of my hesitations in growing to a 20, 30, 40 car fleet. My concern being that I don't want to buy 40 cars for the purpose of renting them out on Turo and then have my account wrongfully terminated for whatever reason. So this is something that should be in the back of everybody's mind who's taking part in the gig economy, but especially those people who are relying on the money that they make in the gig economy. But with that being said, I think that this shouldn't necessarily deter anybody from taking part in the gig economy, but I do think it should change the way that you approach gig work as a whole. And with that, let's dig into some of my tips and tricks on how I think you can give yourself some peace of mind in the case that you are or could be wrongfully terminated in the future. So the first way that you can protect yourself in the case of wrongful termination is to simply diversify. And this is, in my opinion, the most important, but also kind of the most no-brainer way to protect yourself from this issue. If you do not rely on one single source of income, then your life will not be significantly changed if you lose a single source of income. If you're somebody who's driving for Uber and that's where you make 100% of your income, maybe you should explore the option of driving with Lyft half the time or driving with Lyft 25% of the time. If you're somebody that does car sharing 100% of the time, maybe you should explore doing things like Instacart or DoorDash. I think that it's important to diversify yourself across multiple platforms and at the very least have these accounts set up on these platforms. That way, if there is a wrongful termination issue and you're fighting it, that you can at least pivot to other platforms for the time being without any real leeway time. So I think diversification is really the best way to protect yourself from any abrupt income shift, regardless of what industry, what niche you're working in, whether it's a gig work, whether it's a 9-to-5, whether it's investments. Diversification is one of the best forms of a safety net. Now, before we move on to the next tip, I would like to thank the sponsor of this video, Cover. Now, what Cover is Cover is a financial safety net and just a safety net in general for gig workers. With Cover, you can have some peace of mind knowing that somebody has your back. And in the case of an accident, accident, in the case of a wrongful termination, you can have Cover assist you in the process. So with Cover, if you are in an accident, if you're hospitalized, if you get sick, you can have access to a slew of financial benefits so that you don't have to worry about losing your house, getting evicted, missing a car payment. Cover can help you out financially in that case. But one of the really unique services that Cover offers is legal assistance in the case of wrongful termination. So Cover has a partnership with Legal Rideshare, and what they can do is in the case that you are wrongfully terminated from your Uber, from your Lyft, from your Instacart account, Legal Rideshare and their team can come in, they can send a legal letter to Instacart, to Uber, to Lyft, to these gig platforms, trying to fight for your right to have your platform reinstated. Now, keep in mind, this only applies to wrongful termination. So if you were doing shady stuff, you don't deserve to have your account back, and Legal Rideshare will not have your back in that instance. But if it's a wrongful termination, Cover and Legal Rideshare and their team can help you get your account back. Now, the best part is that Cover starts at just $7 per month, and I have a link in the description below. I also have a link that is pinned in the comments, and with that link, if you sign up, you get 1 free month of Cover with no contracts, no long-term commitments, nothing. So if you guys are interested in giving it a try, if you're interested in having that financial safety net, if having some legal experts behind you in the case of a potential wrongful termination, then I would definitely check it out. Thank you, Cover, for sponsoring this video. The next tip that I have, and one of the best ways to protect yourself from anything bad happening, is to be prepared and to do everything strategically. And what I mean by that is that I feel like so often people partake in the gig economy and they are really flippant with it. They don't keep track of receipts, they don't keep track of records, they don't really keep track of what they're doing on the platform and why they're doing it. I think one of the best ways to protect yourself in the case of a wrongful termination, but really in the case of anything going wrong, is to document your gig work as if it's a real business, a real legitimate company. I think that keeping records of what you do, when you do it, and why you do it is super beneficial. And I think that it protects you not only in the case of a wrongful termination, but also in the case of anything going wrong at all. For example, if you ever have an issue or dispute with a guest, then keep record of what happened, what the context of that dispute was, and what a potential resolution could be, or what you did on your end. In the case of like Turo, if you have a bunch of damage claims, make sure to keep track of what those damage claims were, the context of the damage claims, along with detailed photos. I think that documentation in any way, shape, or form is always going to help you. And in the case of a wrongful termination, keeping this documentation can very literally be the difference between being able to have your account reinstated or just being stuck with a wrongful termination and no way to make money through the gig economy. Now, the final tip that I have to protect yourself against a wrongful termination is to read the terms of service. This is something that I've been beating a dead horse with on this channel, and I will continue to do it because I think it is so incredibly important. On a platform and in an economy where you don't control the majority of the business, it's important for you to abide by the business's rules. So in the case of Turo, in the case of Airbnb, Lyft, whatever the case is, if you want to make money on that platform and if you want to have a long-term relationship with that platform, you have to learn how to play by their rules. And the best way to do that is to read the terms of service inside and out, and then to understand how you need to operate in order to have a long-term relationship with them. So again, in the case of Turo, there are so many different nuances about how to run a proper Turo business. And there are a lot of instances where people get banned from the Turo platform, and on the surface, they're like, I didn't do anything wrong. I was just running the business. They wrongfully terminated me. But then whenever you start digging underneath the surface and you start really getting into the operations of their business, you realize that they were doing a ton of stuff wrong. They were doing a lot of stuff that was against the terms of service, and they didn't even realize it. And the unfortunate thing is that so often that problem of getting terminated because you didn't read the terms of service is easily preventable by simply reading the terms of service. So again, if you guys are taking part in the gig economy, if you guys are putting any of your eggs in the basket of the gig economy, which is a platform that you ultimately have no control over, make sure that you read the terms of service and make sure that you are prepared and you can strategically play by the rules of the gig platform. Ultimately though, you guys, the topic of wrongful termination is something that isn't going to affect everybody, but in doing research for this video and trying to figure out a topic for this video, I did some research on wrongful termination, and it seems as though this topic does come up pretty frequently on a number of different platforms. In fact, if you do a quick Google search of wrongful termination on Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Turo, Airbnb, you'll find a slew of different searches, which means that it does happen even if it doesn't happen super frequently. But with that being said, you guys, I would love to hear your thoughts. If you guys have any comments, questions, if you have anything to add, make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.